Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Nidhi and you're watching my series on how to become a cabin crew. And today I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Carmen. She's a career counselor and someone that I personally admire on social media as a content creator. She's also an ex-Emirates recruiter and currently involved in coaching cabin crew aspirants around the world. I do have to say, Carmen, that I'm an ardent follower on Instagram, and I do advise all of you out there to connect with her on that platform as well. And in all honesty, one of the most inspiring things that I've known about her is the two books that she has written. One is called Life After Dubai, which is available in English on Amazon and in Spanish as well. And Carmen, before I invite you to talk about the two books, the other book is The Golden Call, which is currently available in Spanish and soon to be translated and released in English. It's all about the recruitment process for Emirates. I would love to hear from you. And once again, thank you so much for taking time out to do this with us today.
Okay, perfect. So, well, your introduction was amazing. So I don't know what else to say, but as a matter of fact, I'm a former cabin crew and recruiter. I've been flying for 2 airlines. Started my aviation career when I was 20 something, and
wow.
And then from being a cabin crew, I was promoted to being a supervisor. And then I had the opportunity to become a recruiter, which we can speak about this later if you want. And yeah, so after a few years living in Dubai, actually 8 years, I felt it was time to go back home. And I decided to come back home. And yeah, so, and it was hard for me to go back home because it was actually the most difficult journey going back home, because I was thinking that I would find everything as it was before I left, and it wasn't, because 8 years is a long time.
Absolutely.
So that's why I decided to write my first book, which is Life After Dubai, in which I was like explaining my experience, because I was feeling like no one was understanding me and I couldn't find any information online. So I decided to write my own story as a therapy for myself. And then I didn't know that this book would become very popular. And then after that is when I start giving tips and advising cabin crew wannabes on what they could do to achieve their dream. So I had a lot to give and to explain about. So this is how I became slowly career counselor, but it wasn't my plan at all to do it. And at the same time, I was enjoying social media and all that. So this is a little bit about me.
Absolutely. I can't really, wait to get my hands on that book. I've gone through your Instagram. I've checked the book out on Amazon, and it sounds really amazing. As soon as I get out of quarantine, I think that's the first thing I'm gonna do. And I advise everyone out here to actually do that as well. I do really want to know about the second book as well, because La Golden Call, something that sounds really interesting, very close to the golden call that people receive, as you had mentioned to me, when they actually get selected in the final recruitment process. So tell us something about that book.
Yes, the Golden Call is actually gonna be released, as you well said, in a few weeks. It's actually in Spanish already, and it talks about why it's so important to have a good recruitment process in place for the cabin crew role. From when I actually do a review on when the airlines start recruiting. I speak about and I speak about everything about recruitment. Starting from the CV, the pictures, how they're supposed to be, the recruitment stages. I speak about why we do certain activities and what's the reason behind, what are we looking for, and how to perform well during an interview. So it's actually, I'm relating to the Emirates recruitment process because this is where I work at as a recruiter, but it could be used in any major airline because it actually has all the steps that all the airlines usually do. And they work around competencies and key skills, and more or less the profile is the same. So I think it's quite good. So it's also good for someone who is interested in human resources or how recruitment works, because it's not only applied to aviation either. It could be applied to any other industries with experience as well.
Absolutely. I think I completely 100% agree with you on that, because, as interview specialist, the things that I share on my social media platform are not just for cabin crew, but all the tips that we share that can be always applied to all the interview processes. So definitely a book that none of us want to miss. So I'm really, really looking forward to the English translation, so me and all my followers can get their hands on it. And before we actually, start the interview process, I just want to give a quick shout out and tell everyone that if you are a cabin crew aspirant, although we're both coaches, I always believe that it's all about growing together. I'm pretty sure Carmen has a lot to offer. Do get in touch with her, because she has a dedicated coaching program as well that she runs for cabin crew aspirants around the world. And I'm sure she'll be happy to run you through this. At the moment, she is a mom to be, so she might take a little bit of time to get back to you. So on that note, I am very, very curious to know the first thing. When you said 8 years, 2 years, after 2 years, you became a supervisor. So 2 years, wow, that's a really fast track into a supervisor. I really want to know how that happened.
Well, actually, I didn't do anything special. I was at the right time, at the right place. I was actually the first time that Emirates was introducing these fast track programs. So they chose, they put out there the opportunity for those cabin crew members who were working actually in business class, and they wanted to promote straight to supervisors instead of going through first class. So it's actually slightly different as in Singapore Airlines, as I heard, because I know in Singapore Airlines, you need to wait and wait so many years, and it's a different system.
So definitely, Carmen, from how I have seen you, you've been very, very motivated and dedicated in everything that you do. So I'm pretty sure that cabin crew to supervisor role did not happen by luck, but you did put in a lot of effort. But at the same time, you didn't really stop. You actually continued to pursue different opportunities in Emirates, and went on to become a recruiter. And you were a supervisor for 3 years, and then you were a recruiter for 3 years. So we would love to know about your journey and the transition and how all that happened.
So actually, it's a very good question. So after 5 years of flying with Emirates and 3 years being a supervisor, I felt I was ready to do something else, but I wasn't ready to leave Dubai and Emirates. I always had interest of training departments and recruitment, but I didn't know how to get there or what I could do. But I was always checking internal vacancies and seeing what other opportunities the airline had to offer. And yeah, I was lucky to find this opportunity, and I saw the requirements. I thought I could do it. I knew it was very difficult. Actually, my cabin crew manager wasn't very supportive, and she was I don't think this is something you could do, because usually 400 cabin crew apply, and it's very difficult. And she kind of discouraged me at first, but then I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna try anyway. I mean, who are you to tell me I cannot do that? This is like,
way to go.
Yeah, she kind of motivated me more, because when you have a challenge in front is when you show more motivation and everything. So it was like a personal challenge more than a professional challenge. And in my interview for a recruiter, I was so excited to become a recruiter that I was always rehearsing at home how to do open days, and I was I was very excited, and I think I transferred this energy and this motivation to my recruiters. And apart from that, they saw the skills and stuff. So yeah, this is how I got it.
Amazing. That is such an inspiring story, actually. How you actually made that into a personal challenge and motivated yourself to really achieve your dream. I think this is something that people really need to take away from what you've just shared, and something that they could actually put into their interviews, especially when they're going for their open days. So let's talk a little bit about, since we're talking about interviews, we know that the entire aviation industry is going through a bit of turmoil at this point in time. And as I put it, I usually say that it's going through turbulence, and we're going to come out to the clear skies very shortly. But what is your perspective on, two things? One, when will the aviation industry, get up and running in terms of where it's heading? And a very important question that everybody would want to know is the recruitment. When do you think the airlines, in general, not just Emirates, in general, would like to look at the hiring process?
I think this is the hardest time for aviation, but we don't have to lose hope. So when the recruitment will come, I don't know. But I
That's
think
true.
it will take time. I think maybe a couple of years being positive, and I hope so. But the one thing I know, or I want to know, or I would like to know, is that when it comes, it will be stronger, and it will be lots of competition, and it will be even harder than before, because that becoming a cabin crew is not easy, has never been. There are only few airlines, and it's a lot of demand. But can you imagine after all this happens,
Absolutely.
this is going to be very complicated and very difficult, especially for freshers, and also for cabin crew with experience, because they think they know everything, and maybe airlines, what they want is that you leave all your bad habits at home and just start
Fresh. That's true.
So I would advise all cabin crew wannabes to take this time to prepare themselves, to seek for professionals, and only the best ones will get it. And it's not easy to become a star candidate. So the more information you have, the better. But it's also tricky, because nowadays with social media, anyone can give any kind of tips or any kind of advice, and from their own experience. And this is not this is complicated, and this is difficult, because it can confuse candidates. And then when it comes to airlines wanting to hire people, maybe they have the wrong information and the wrong skill set and the wrong way of passing interviews, because most of these cabin crew advisors, that they only have this cabin crew experience, maybe 1 year or 2 years, but they have a lot of followers. They just personal information, and I heard things sometimes, Nidia, I don't know if it's your case as well, like, oh my God, how can they say that?
Totally.
You're gonna get selected, or if you say this, or if you say that, and I'm like, oh my God,
So I do my best to do research and definitely talk to people that I know have the right experience, and you're one of them. Julia is another one person that I always connect with and reach out to her for information. So I'm really happy that we decided to do this, because this is what people really need to hear from the right people and to follow right people. So, on that note, I feel the whole interview process might change a lot as well, especially how most airlines used to conduct open days before. Do you think that there will be a transition from open days to video interviews, and that's going to be the first step, or the first step in the screening process?
To be honest, I don't think it should change a lot.
Okay.
Because in order to assess if someone is suitable for the cabin crew role, and in order to assess if they have the required skill set, it's important that we have group activities, and we see them face to face. In terms of first CV screening or final interview, it's okay to do the whole process online, but at least at some point, I think it would be required to have some kind of activities face to face, or maybe have some representative or take advantage of local agencies to do that part. But we need someone to assess that, especially for the cabin crew role. Of course, in other roles, it's not as important, but when it comes to mass recruitment, it's one skill we want to look at, teamwork, and it's very difficult to assess that on a Zoom platform, for instance.
I think that's a very valid point that you've shared. And I know that you've elaborated a lot on these checklists and the group activities in your book as well, The La Golden Call, which I believe once it comes out will be definitely a great reference to people to look into exactly what the recruiters are looking at when they're doing different interview rounds. And that brings me to a very interesting question, which is, when people submit their CV online, I know that there is this thing about the CV has to be ATS proof and things like that. Does airline, because I know a lot of international companies out there do that, and I know some airlines do that, but like Singapore Airlines actually doesn't really follow the ATS system. Does it happen with other industries as well in Emirates, in your experience?
When I was working at Emirates, we used to check the applications one by one. It wasn't something that, it wasn't a task that recruiters we were doing all the time. We had also recruiter coordinators that they were doing this part. But I think it's important to check one by one the applications, or at least the first batch, until you have a right number to conduct an open day or an assessment day, because there are many other things other than the CV that will define if you are invited or not. And one is the pictures. Pictures are super important for cabin crew role. As you know, cabin crews are brand ambassadors, airline ambassadors, and the image is super important, and the grooming to be working in front of, customers in an aircraft. So that's the reason behind. We cannot trust an ATS only.
Great. I think you've shed a light on a very important point here, because as much as we want to talk about ATS proof resume, I think it's very important to go through all the necessary steps. But at the same time, I always tell people it's really not so much about fanciful CVs. It's really about what you put in there in terms of your key skills, your achievements. What is it that makes you that candidate that Carmen would want to call and talk to at the end of the day, right? Great. So here's an interesting question for you, Carmen. As a recruiter, when you're sitting there, and you're doing an open day assessment and people walk in, what is it that makes you feel that this person stands out in comparison to someone else in terms of the impression that they make, the first or the last impression?
Okay, so definitely first impression is very important, and you only have one opportunity to make a good first impression. So what a star candidate looks like? Well, it's a star candidate when you see it. It's like, oh my God, I fall in love. Like when you see your soulmate and you're like, oh my God, this is the person I want to be forever. So this is the same. This what happens with a candidate and a recruiter. So star candidate behaves in a different way, special right from the beginning, the way they present themselves, the way they present their resume, the way they communicate, and they smile, and they show their motivation, and they let you know that this is the job they want and they're gonna fight for it until the end without competing with others. So it's important to say that the recruiters during an open day or an assessment day, we are looking at candidates as potential cabin crew. So you should behave as if you were one. Inside the aircraft, you should portray your suit as if you were wearing the uniform already. The way you speak to your colleagues, it would define the way you would speak to customers on board. So it's a feeling that you need to have, and not everyone is, even if you have a good training, or you either have it or you don't, so we can really do much about it. So So yeah, so it's easy to spot a star candidate, but when they are until the end. So
right. I think that is a very important sentence that you mentioned there. If they are, then they're going to be right till the end as star candidates. And I think they have to show that enthusiasm. They have to continuously, keep sharing what they can bring to the table in that job role that they're applying for. So a very interesting question again. And I think a lot of people ask me this, and that's why I want to ask you this. I have an answer, but I want to hear your perspective. So freshers versus experienced, does it really matter? Because, when a job opportunity is put out there, especially for the role of a cabin crew, usually there is no experience required per se, but a lot of people always put a lot of emphasis on having some sort of customer service experience. What do you think about that?
Okay, it depends on the personality, always. It doesn't matter if you have cabin crew experience or not, as long as you have customer service experience. I personally prefer candidates with cabin crew experience, of course, as long as they can adapt and have like a reset on their mind that, okay, this is another airline with another type of values, with another service type and another way of and delivering a service. And some cabin crew that they change from one airline to another one just because they want greater benefits. They don't have this into consideration. They just do it from their own benefit without considering that maybe the airlines, what they want is, is so, it's a tricky question, because it's not that the airlines prefer freshers, but they don't have all these bad habits that maybe they can transfer from one airline to another one.
Yes, and I completely agree with you, because I think every airline has its own way of how they would want to project their cabin crew. And that's why, I always tell people, if you look at all Emirates cabin crew, they look the same. If you look at Singapore Airlines crew, they pretty much look the same, because there is this image that the airlines would want them to project at the end of the day. And what about the age? Because, a lot of times people say if you're younger in age, you would stand a better chance in comparison to if you are older. What's your perspective or take on that?
Okay, each airline has their own beliefs, but on a personal note, what I can say from my own experience, I think age does matter, because it's not the same when you join an airline when you're 20 something as when you are 30 something, for instance. Because when you are younger, you have less commitments. You are more eager to have more adventures, and you can adapt to any kind of situation. Because think when you are recruited to work for Singapore Airlines or to work for Emirates, you need to live your life, you need to leave your family, you need to move to another country, another city, to do a completely different job, to have new flatmates. So when you are kind of settled around your 30s, it's not something you are up to, and you give more resistance to that. And
Sure.
you maybe have your family as well. You want to travel with your family, you want to move there with your family. And so I think in this sense, it matters, because you are not as flexible as you would be if you were younger. However, in my upcoming book, The Golden Call, I'm talking about this matter about age, what airlines really want. And I actually talk about many airlines and their way of thinking with regards that, also Middle Eastern airlines.
Interesting, very interesting. I really can't wait to read everything that's out there in the book, because I know as much as, as much as I would want to get the answers to all the questions, I think the book itself would prove to be a great resource in terms of the information that people would need. And this is what I always say, it's not really about information. At the end of the day, you should be able to take that information and use it to be able to transform to get what you want. And I definitely see your experience translating into that book, in sharing what people can do to actually achieve their dreams. So once it's out, you definitely have to share it with all of us, and I'm going to put it out there for all of them, and maybe get on a Insta Live to talk a little bit about the book, so we can create that buzz about it, if that's the right word. Right. So, as much as I'm seeing all of this from the view of candidates, let's reverse the roles a little bit and talk about the recruiters here. Candidates spend an entire day standing in lines and waiting from one interview round to another, and maybe from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Usually that's where they finally, get to know whether they've gotten selected. But in that entire process, I feel the recruiters must go through so much at the same time. What is it to be on the other side of it? How do you feel about the whole process when you have to sit in that room from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. and continuously talking to people?
Actually, in my other book, Life After Dubai, is where I share my experience from as a recruiter, but on a personal way. How I was feeling when I was traveling all around the world. I mean, it's nice because you can see the recruiter as a human being, because people think that we are not humans, we are robots. So, but what you said about long hours is actually very exhausting, considering as the recruiters for this type of airlines, especially for Emirates. We needed to, I said Emirates, but also Qatar Airways, Etihad, Singapore, not sure if they travel or candidates they need to go.
No, they do. They travel. Yeah.
So the traveling thing is very exhausting, because you need to travel for 10 hours, 15 hours, sometimes suffer jet lag, and then be ready the next day.
Absolutely.
And perform the open day, and make decisions and be fresh and portray this image as well. So it's tough on this on the other side of the table as well. But as I always say, when you do things with love and when you are passionate about what you do, doesn't matter.
I'm sure. And we all can see that the way you put the content out there to, share whatever that you do with all the cabin crew aspirants on your Instagram, that does go to show all the love that you put in in the work that you do. So as recruiters, do you also work with, the training departments, or is there certain directives that you work with, especially when you're recruiting? Do you know that you can only recruit a certain number of people? And, does it have to be in liaison with the training department as to what they're looking for and things like that? Does that get into the consideration?
There is connection in between the recruitment department and the training department but for the ab initio trainings, because usually ab initio is the first training that candidates have when they join an airline. But unfortunately, there is always communication when there is something bad. It's never to say, hey, this is great. This is a great match. So usually, sometimes when, training, they need more information about a candidate, or they need to inform, hey, we spot a tattoo, or, this person is not behaving. So maybe we need to go back to the recruitment. And, candidates, they need to remember that they're still on probation for 6 months. So yes, there is a lot of connection in between training and HR departments, and also with the in-flight services, because cabin crew managers also are linked and communicating with recruiting.
Okay. You mentioned a very important thing about scars and tattoos. You actually said tattoos, but I'm going to include scars as well.
Yeah.
That's always a big question out there, you know, if I have a scar, if I have a tattoo. And I know there is a very strict guideline that you actually shared a couple of, and I do follow your Instagram very religiously. So I know you did put it up there where you talked about, you know, where exactly can the tattoo be. And that's why I'm not going to ask you to share any information on that, because I want people to go to your Instagram page and I want them to take a look at that post. And it's going to be very, very self-explanatory. But I do want to talk a little bit about the scars. You know, a lot of times candidates do get rejected because they have a scar, which is rather more visual in appearance, maybe, you know, on their hands or legs or at some part of their face. Does it really make that much of a difference?
So the airlines are, especially Middle Eastern and Asian airlines, are very clear on that. Scars and tattoos can be on visible areas. It's not. It doesn't mean that because my uniform has a skirt knee length, if I have a tattoo above my knee, I can have it. No, it doesn't work like this. So airlines have defined what are the visible and non-visible areas. For instance, in Emirates, the uniform for guys, for males, is obviously with a jacket, but in training college they have to wear like a t-shirt, so it's not allowed to have a tattoo on their arm, although when they fly the uniform has long sleeves. For scars, well, and also tattoos, I also talk about that on my book, The Golden Call. In certain, you know, airlines like Singapore Airlines, Emirates, Qatar Airways, they are very international. They fly all over the world. And as you may know, not in many countries, tattoos are well accepted, and they can contain religious thoughts, political views, and so on. So airlines, they want to be the more standard and possible. So that's why it's not, they are not allowed. Like, for instance, in Japan, it's not allowed to have a tattoo and go to the beach with a tattoo. It could be, well, bad scene. And for scars, it's the same. If you have small scar, but it's not deep, of course, it doesn't matter. But if you have a big scar, like, you know, Al Pacino in Scarface here, some passengers could think, oh my God, he's been in prison, and you know, or maybe he's a person who is fighting with other people, you know, like we airlines, what they want is not to make customers to have prejudices about cabin crew. And because customers, we cannot control them, of course, I mean, they are paying and they can think whatever they want. Absolutely. That's the way of trying to be neutral as an airline.
So that's where the importance of checklists lies as well for different interview rounds, right? As you were saying, you know, the group activities have certain teamwork abilities. So if you were to look, maybe tell us 5 skills that you would be looking at overall.
For the recruitment process, or for the open days, recruiters, we mainly check the 5 or 6 top key skills or competencies that a cabin crew should have. So it depends on the stage. We check some skills and we check another ones. Obviously, as a tip, or as if you are smart enough, if the group activity ones, obviously we are checking how you interact with others, how you portray your image, what's your nonverbal body language. For instance, you could be saying a perfect introduction, speaking very politely to your colleagues. But if you are rolling eyes, or you are, doing something that is not connecting to what your message is saying, of course, you're going to be rejected, because you don't want someone on the aircraft to be having this weird body language, and then because customers are looking at you, customers are bored, passengers are sitting there for 10 hours.
So true.
They can't hear you, but they see you and they're watching us, you know, when we are working on the aircraft. So this is something to consider. Also, in the final interview, we actually it's the time to tick all the boxes and to double check in detail all the competencies that a candidate should have through their past experiences. So we believe that if someone has performed in a certain way in the past, most likely this person will perform the same way. So if you have a customer complaining and you offer solutions and you apologize and blah 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 blah, in the future, even though you never work as cabin crew, you will act the same way. So basically, this is what we're checking. And the good thing or the bad thing about that is that if you fail just one competency, you won't pass the interview. You need to be fully competent in all of them in order to get the job. So there is something I would like to highlight when it comes to crew recruitment, is that because sometimes we cannot just trust the interviews and the feeling that a candidate can give us with regards if they have the competencies or not. So that's why we use online tests. You do an online test, you are actually doing it yourself. And then all this information that it's screened through an kind of a system and give us the inputs if this person is actually good with people, if they prefer to make decisions individually, or if they don't know how to handle stress. So we have all this information beforehand, and that's why when we guide the interview and we do, that's why there are no, I mean, 2 interviews are not the same. So each candidate could have a different experience, because we actually ask what the test is telling us. Oh, this person maybe needy, is not very creative when solving problems. So guess what I'm going to ask you? Needy, can you please give me an example of a time when you were creative in solving a situation or a problem with a customer?
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That's true. That's true. And that's where the psychometric test basically comes into the place. But psychometric tests is usually done at the initial stage, even before we call them for the interviews, right? Is that the same for Emirates, or do you do it after?
It depends on the airline. There are some airlines that they do it at first before sending an open day, but Emirates, for instance, they do it before the final interview. So we only send those tests to people who have successfully passed the open day. And I think this is a great tool, so we don't have subjective opinions on candidates. Because it's very easy to get biased to someone just because maybe this person studied in the same school as you did, or maybe you have the same interests. So so this is an objective way to analyze and to judge if this person is suitable or not. So it's a great tool. However, we don't have to base our hiring decisions on these tests. These tests are giving us just some information about how this person could be. But it could be also that this that the candidate is proving us wrong or is proving the test wrong. So this is why it's very important to handle all these tools in the proper way.
That makes sense. So for Singapore Airlines, the psychometric test is actually the first round. So even before, so you do that together with the online application. That's when they do the psychometric test. So
the job is done already. So it doesn't alter the process, but the results of this test for sure are used also at a later stage.
Yes, they are, for sure. Yes, we put that into consideration. So there's one interesting thing that I wanted to get your perspective on. And a lot of times people ask me this question: why do recruiters not give us any feedback? What is it that we could have done better to clear that interview?
Well, on a massive recruitment event, impossible to give feedback to each and every candidate. It's very difficult. And but as a tip, I would say that candidates should reflect what was the last stage that they got into, and reflect on what they think they did wrong. So recruiters will never give you any feedback at all, and usually it's because airline policy, or they're not happy with that. And because imagine if I give you feedback, okay, you need to do this next time better, maybe you come back next time and you say, hey, I did it already, so why you're not taking me now? So it's complicated, because we don't want to leave this door open. And during my coaching sessions, I always analyze what went wrong in previous recruitments with airlines, and usually people know why they didn't pass.
I agree with you. Totally. I agree with you. I mean, even with my coaching sessions, when I'm actually taking the session, we actually go through like a mock interview where we understand what have you been doing in all the interviews, and analyze what actually is the reason why you aren't there at this point in time. Great, great. Thank you so much for sharing those insightful tips. I definitely feel whoever is going to watch this, it's definitely going to be a lot of value add. But I also believe the real value add will definitely come from the book when that would be released. So as I said, definitely a must read for everyone. And I'm pretty sure for all the questions that people would want to know are definitely answered there. So at this point in time, I'm not going to ask any more recruitment related questions, because you've definitely gone out of your way to give us a lot of necessary information and a lot of tips, I must say, along the way. And as you said, if people are smart, they will definitely pick up what they really need to know, and put their best foot forward. I definitely want, our followers to know Carmen a little bit at this point in time. So just want to ask, some personal questions at this point in time, just to get to know you a little bit better, I know this is this is a tricky question, since you've been. I remember you did mention at the start that you flew with 2 airlines, or
Yes.
So what's the first airline that you were with?
It doesn't exist anymore. It's a British airline. It's called Monarch Airlines. So it was a low cost airline that they were doing regular and charter flights. So my first layover was in the Maldives.
Ooh, nice. I love Maldives. So, but that was going to be my other question. But my question right now was, what is your favorite airline to travel with?
Emirates.
Okay. Yeah, I would also say Singapore Airlines.
I'm Emirates passionate. I know. It's gonna be my airline forever, even though I don't work there for like 5 years now. I guess the same you with Singapore Airlines. It has like a special place in your heart.
Absolutely. As I say, once a crew, you're always a crew at heart. Yeah, it definitely has that special place. So what's your favorite destination? I know Maldives is where you landed the first, but what's your favorite destination?
Any sunny island can do it. Can do it. I love, you know what, because I'm not very keen on visiting cities, because during my time as cabin crew and recruiter, what I was doing was that, like walking for hours, like taking pictures and doing sightseeing like a fast track. So how I enjoy now vacations, or my favorite destinations, is somewhere I can lay down and just relax with a glass of wine when I can.
and I'm definitely joining you there, wherever wine is.
Yeah.
Amazing. So currently you're based out of Spain, and is that home for you, or?
Yes. I live close to Barcelona, north of Spain. And yeah, this is in here is where I was born. And yeah, and this is my my hometown, let's say.
So I remember you did mention that, when you came back, things were not the same. What do you want to share a little bit on that? But if
Yeah.
it's too personal, then
No, no,
it's
no,
really
it's
up
not
to you.
personal. It's actually my
Sure.
book. The whole book talks about that. Like
Okay.
after, actually, the title is Life After Dubai. So people think that this book is about my life in Dubai, which actually I am very specific and I give a lot of details about my journey as cabin crew and recruiter in Dubai. But actually, what I suffer, I don't know if it was your case as well, when you kind of because well, I don't know if it happened for you the same, but I suffered about reverse cultural shock. So
Ah, okay.
I was so used to how life in Dubai was, that when I went back home, and as I said, I was expecting to find everything the same, but obviously all my friends, they had babies already, they got married. And I was not kind of interacting with them as much during these 8 years. And they changed, but maybe the one I changed, it was me, because from all the baggage and experiences I got working as cabin crew. So there was a point that I was not fitting well in Spain
Ah,
with the traditions and the old Spanish mentality. I was a citizen of the world. I was living in a multicultural um, city where I was eating Indian food one day, and the next day I was eating Mexican, and I was, shopping in New York. It's a complete
absolutely.
different lifestyle. So when I went back home, and I tried to have a normal job and a normal life, it was difficult for me to. And also, in order, I mean, also like, because in Dubai everyone speaks English. Even if you speak with your friends in Spanish, let's say in my case, you also use a lot of English words. So,
Yeah.
but you go back to Spain and you start speaking like this, people think, oh my God, who she thinks she is? Like, she's coming from,
Okay.
like, it was like a whole I mean, it was like a shock. It was a cultural shock going back home.
Wow. So, in all honesty, I did not experience that because when I quit Singapore Airlines, I was fortunate that I'm married to someone who is a Singaporean, and I stayed back in Singapore. But you know what? I can totally sort of relate to it. If I were to go back at this point in time to my home country, there will definitely be some sort of cultural shock that I would experience because,
Yeah.
being part of a cultural environment brings a very different personality and experience in you. Um, but you know what? I'm really happy for this phase of your life, as one crew to other, as a friend, that you are at a place where you're about to be a mother and you're going to be experiencing life on a new level. But at the same time, just out of curiosity, if you were given a choice to go back to what you were doing, being a recruiter, or being a cabin crew at some point in time, would you take it up?
I don't know. It's difficult to answer. I mean, I would go back to work for Emirates for sure, but I would definitely do it from here.
Mm,
I wouldn't. I think this is. I don't believe in second chances or opportunities. Actually, I speak in my book about that as well. I had the chance to go back to Dubai
ah,
after I came
okay.
back. Actually, I was gonna move back, but something happened that I didn't go. So in my book, I explained what was the reason.
Absolutely. I think whatever happens in our life happens for a reason, and
Sure.
it's amazing that you're embracing all of that with such positivity. And I totally believe in that as well. As much as I love flying, and I will go back, given a choice, in 1 second. But I'm really happy with what I have at this point in time, and you know. And I'm really glad that we both are, and a lot of other people, which I believe that we can trust, are doing this at this point in time. We're using all that experience to guide people in the right direction. and help them achieve their dreams. And I actually feel that I'm doing justice to what I did as a cabin crew. And I did put in a lot of effort, like you'd put in a lot of effort, and all the opportunities and become a recruiter. So that's amazing, and that's why I love these interviews where I can connect with people, and we share the same common vision and same goal. So Carmen, once again, thank you so much for taking time out and sharing those amazing insights and tips with all of us. Definitely looking forward to both the books, Life After Dubai, where you have explained not just about your journey as a cabin crew, but also talked about, how you were coping up with your life after being a cabin crew. And, I'm really amazed with what you're doing at this point in time with your career. Keep up the work. I'm always inspired by what you do. And at the same time, for all of you out there, the book Life After Dubai is actually available on Amazon as we speak, and I'll put up the links. It is available in both Spanish and English. So do get that book because I'm going to do that as well. And then I'm going to post a photo. And definitely do tag Carmen once you get your hands on the book, so she will also know on her Instagram account that you guys are reading the book. And definitely looking forward to the second book. I believe that is also available on Amazon, The La Golden Call. However, it is only available in the Spanish version at this point in time. So for all of you out there who are learning Spanish, this is the time to work on your language skills and do get your hands on that book. But I personally, I'm really looking forward to the English version because I think that would be a great add-on for me as well in my journey as a coach, trying to prepare people, because I will be also learning from your experiences to see how I can guide people in the right direction. So thank you once again, Carmen. And for all of you out there, do connect with her on her Instagram page. Do reach out to her on her website if you would like to know more about her coaching related opportunities out there.
Well, I would like to thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Nidhi. It was a really amazing interview. And the feeling I have is that I would have stayed for hours and hours talking, because I felt very comfortable with you and with your questions. And I think, it was wonderful. And the professionalism that you display with your type of questions as well. And I felt very good. So don't worry, because as soon as I have my book released in English, you will be the first person to know, and we will organize an Instagram live, and I will send you my ebook version as a gift as well. Same as with Life After Dubai. I'll send you both so you can read them and do your reviews, and what do you think from your about that, from your cabin crew experience and from your trainer experience in both books, if that's okay for you.
Fantastic. No, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Carmen. I really look forward to that. And is there anything that you want to share with all the cabin crew aspirants out there at this point in time?
Well, yes, I would like to tell them to be patient, and everything will pass. Don't lose any hope. If it's meant to be, it will be. Don't be waiting for the opportunity to be cabin crew, just seated and without doing anything. Just do anything, anything you do, any type of work that you do, even though if it's not a cabin crew role at this point, it will benefit in the future during an interview where you're going to be sharing experiences. And also, one thing we can all benefit from this pandemic situation is learning two very valuable skills that are used for the cabin crew role. One is adaptability, and the other one is resilience.
Amazing. I think what you've mentioned is 100% true. And I totally agree with those two key skills. And yeah, I really look forward to meeting you in person sometime soon. If I'm anywhere near your place, and if you happen to be in Singapore, do let's catch up and have that glass of wine, and let's chat a little bit more. But at this point in time, let's bring this video to the end. So thank you once again, Carmen, and thank you everyone for watching. I really hope that you do find value in what we have shared today, in bringing our experiences to help you achieve your dreams in becoming a cabin crew, or for that matter of fact, any interview that you are going to give while you're actually waiting for cabin crew interviews. And if you do like this video, do hit the like button, do share your comments, and do share the video with other people who can benefit from this as well. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel as yet, please go ahead and do that and press that tiny little notification bell so you can be updated with next videos. And of course, stay in touch with me on my Instagram, and do stay in touch with Carmen on her Instagram as well. I'm pretty sure she'll be happy to answer your questions and be there for you.